Got questions about spiritual life, relationships, inner peace, or navigating everyday challenges with grace? Welcome to Ask A Swami, a Q&A series where you ask and Swamis from Yasodhara Ashram share their insights and experiences. In this episode, I speak with Swami Matananda about being in relationship and spiritual life.
Murali Krishna, Mukunda Krishna, Mohana Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hello, Swami Matananda, and welcome back on the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Well, you have so much insight to share based on your own experience of being a resident at the ashram for more than 30 years and being in a partnership. And we've brought out our call for questions to a variety of different people and audiences that follow Yasodhara Ashram on social media, as well as people who are on site at the ashram in the last few months. And the first question that we have for today is from someone from our online forum who asks, "Dear Swami, how do I build a relationship that is based on love rather than attachment?" I think that's a big one. What do you have to say based on your experience in your life?
Well, the first thing is to recognize attachment. And I know it isn't the easiest thing to understand because when I've tried to explain it to my parents or my friends who also have relationships, I would find that it really did not make any sense to them. And when I would say, I'm really working on my relationship so that I'm less attached and more loving, separating those two seemed to just not make sense. And so for me as well, I've had to learn what attachment is. And I found these little tricks for myself so I know, this is attachment. And usually my emotions are the little flag. And they're flagging me to tell me, you are in attachment land. You want something, and your emotions are upset. They're giving you that indication you are upset that you're not getting what you want. And usually the part of me that is the wanter or that wants is ego-based. And to find out what that is, I've taken years to understand what a big force ego is and how long it takes to train the ego or to use it in a way that's helpful on the path. And oftentimes it takes serious discipline for the ego to get the message. And I know they're not separate, and it kind of sounds like I'm separating them. It's all one, and yet it is helpful to separate them. Because part of me will want certain things from a partner, let's say approval, that's a big one. And I would say, probably 90% of humans want that. And to get over that attachment to approval is very helpful. Because to be run by that or to base any of my actions or my thoughts on that desire will not bring me anything lasting or any love. And if that's what I'm aiming for is true love, it is a lot different than what my ego is usually asking for. And so that is an educational time. And everyone comes into this life with their past experiences, their past skills and strengths. And so you never know how much each person has already done when they come into this life. And you can only go with your own experience as far as love and attachment go, and then learn about other people around you and what their knowledge or understanding is of attachment and love. And then for the two to meet, it almost sounds very extraordinary because we are so complicated. And the thing about being here at the ashram or being on this path with Swami Radha's teachings is that she encourages us to keep finding out more, to use our awareness to find out more, to use our intelligence to find out more. And it's usually to find out more about ourselves so that we can understand other people, or we can understand the effort it takes to understand ourselves. So it's the same for any human. And we get an idea once we understand ourselves. And so whenever I've had like an emotional reaction and it just kind of jumps on me like a snake, just goes, that is my warning that I'm heading into ego land or attachment land. And I want to investigate that. Like, what is that thing? Where did it come from? And how do I work with it? And it might be later, it might not be in that moment. And I will also promise myself I will come back to that later. Because as we know, just being emotional, it's a whole thing in itself to navigate. And such a positive thing. Our emotions can be so helpful and intelligent. They have their own intelligence, and I think it's kind of a phrase that people use in the world in some different way, but the way I mean it is really to understand the emotions and that they do have a place in my life to help me evolve. It's not to try to, get rid of them or hate them or, whatever. It's to actually try to understand and use them and to use that energy, because they do have a lot of energy as well. And so with love rather than attachment, it took me a long time to understand that one of my ego forms is competition. And when I found out, I just felt, oh my gosh, that can't be true. I can't be a competitive person. And yet I could see that I was. So in a marriage or in any relationship or any pair that wants to work together, it's so important to know that that is the goal, is to work together, is not to argue and win. And the ego definitely does want to win. And so if there's ever that tinge of that in a discussion that could turn into an argument, that's also another little warning, another flag.
Yeah, I really appreciate the emphasis that you're putting on understanding love and understanding especially attachment and the role of our emotions in affecting both very deeply. And your conversation and your discussion about competition and arguments has led me to think about something that I've observed in my relationship. And it's something that my partner does oftentimes when we're kind of getting a little angry or getting a little mad. There's an argument that's bubbling, and he'll just stop and he'll say, wait, but we're on the same team. We're working together. So exactly as you said, we're working together, and what will it take to work together? And how can I let go of the attachment I have that I'm the one that's right? Or even the attachment to the person that they must think the way that I do, or they must want to act the way that I want. It's a very important thing. So I wonder, what role has that process of kind of starting to understand love played for you? I know for myself through Swami Radha's book, Kundalini Yoga for the West. In it, she has so many questions for us to reflect upon. And one of them is on the topic of love. Like, what even is love? And what is the love that we're aspiring to?
Yes, that's a big question. And what comes to mind is an image that Swami Radha gave us at one point when she was talking to us about relationship. And it really helped me to get beyond that fairy tale essence that really hard to eradicate completely. When Swami Radha was talking with Premananda and I, she said that love manifest would look like a person sitting on a park bench, a younger person, and talking with an older person, and simply being there. And that's all. And she was basing it on a little scene in Driving Miss Daisy. It's an old movie. And this person is her driver. And then they stop and sit on a park bench. And his service to her was very sincere and exemplified love without any attachment, without any desire for his own gain. And I've always held that as an image of, it really separates me from that, all my ideas of love being romantic and, I don't know, some kind of fairy tale. And it isn't like that, but it is also very beautiful and maybe rare and takes effort.
Takes work.
Work and time and
energy.
All the things that spiritual practice take. It's almost like the two worlds meet. No matter what situation we're in our lives, if we think of Divine Mother worship, and Divine Mother is a way that we describe the fact that everything is sacred. And so if that's true, whatever we're involved in is one and the same with our path to enlightenment. And hopefully we have those moments of enlightenment along the way, and those little moments of precious, deep, fleeting love.
And what I heard too in that beautiful image you just shared of a younger person and an older person simply sitting at a bench together and being present is the part of expectation and love and expectation, and how they go together, but also how when expectations are too high, that's when emotions come in, that's when hatred can come in. And yet, if we can be present, remembering that two pairs are on one team, how much more open and loving we can truly be. And it's interesting to hear this example of the old person and young person at the bench, because it makes me think of an example I've heard from Swami Radha in one of her books about how when we practice mantra yoga, when we're chanting a mantra, our mind is so focused on the mantra, and yet a part of us is alert, like a person sitting on a bench, reading a book, understanding the words, and yet being aware of the surroundings and awaiting the beloved. And it's interesting to think about those two examples, someone reading the book, waiting for the beloved, but still understanding the book, and two people sitting, being present with one another, and how in those both examples, whether one's, talking about relationships and love, and one is talking about our union with the divine, how both of them requires presence and showing up on that bench in the first place.
Right, showing up on the bench. I love that. Mm-hmm. And staying with it. So yeah, having perseverance is important.
Well, Swami Matananda, thank you for sitting down with me and talking about love and attachment. And I hope that whoever is listening at home now has a new sense of clarity for themselves on what love might be, what attachment might be, and how they can explore these two topics within their lives and their path. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. I'm very grateful. Namaste.
Namaste.
Yasodhara Ashram is located in British Columbia on the unceded traditional territory of the Ktunaxa and Sinixt peoples. If you have questions that need answers, you can submit them to the form link in the description. You can learn more about the ashram and Swami Shivananda Radha's teachings by visiting our website at yasodhara.org.